Hey everybody, Nick here, and this morning I got not a review, I got a disassembly for you on this little guy. This is the Massdrop slash DJ Schwarz slash Millet Knives Perpetua. This is an interesting piece. It is using a locking mechanism that is remarkably similar to the axis lock mechanism that Benchmade popularized, I think invented, maybe popularized, I don't freaking know. Either way, except that now it's out of patent protection, so everyone's free to use it, which is a beautiful thing for the knife community. Because the axis lock, that is pretty solid. So, yeah, there's that. Go ahead, and I believe we need T10 here. Yeah, that's T10. Free spin and pivot. So, I actually have disassembled this guy prior to the, this video here. Yeah, and then T8 in the back. And the one thing that I noticed, basically, as I was doing so, is that it's going to be, I'll go ahead and try and do the full disassembly here, or at least I'll show you off what's under the scales here, just because that's, you know, of interest. Come on. Here we go. Pop that little guy loose. But anyways, the big thing is that this is an axis lock style knife. Come on. Get out of there. Don't you want to go home? And home is outside, actually. Don't you want to leave home? Come on, you little bugger. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to fight you right now. Let me grab a second T10 bit so that I can deal with this free spinning pivot. Are you T10? Yes, you are T10. All right. Great. So, then we should be able to pop this guy out. But anyways, what I noticed is that much like other axis lock knives, you can do kind of the two levels of disassembly there. Here we go. Okay, pivot is removed. On one side, you can pop out just the blade here. In order to do so, all you need to do is pop out the pivot here. And that's what I'll go ahead and I'll do to start, just so, mostly so that we get the blade out of play. There we go. So now the blade isn't, you know, flopping around or anything. Then once you've done that, you can actually continue your disassembly. In order to finish the disassembly, what the heck? Let's go ahead and try it, right? In order to do this properly, do I even want to bother with that? Is there any point to it? So look, here's the way this could go. This is a choose-your-own-adventure sort of situation. On one side, I could remove these two screws here as well as the two clip screws. And then I would, what the heck? I could do that, and then I would end up with, come here, the thing completely disassembled. Let's put your two clip screws over here. This is not something you normally need to do. Generally speaking, what you could do is just remove the pivot. You don't even need to take off this scale. And then just clean off the blade, etc. Get everything, you know, pulled out that way. That's totally fine. That'll do what you need for most situations. But if you want to go further, if you want to service this guy a little bit more deeply, say you get all kinds of crud up in there, you're worried about some rustification situations, I don't freaking know. Either way, you can do what it is that I'm doing here and fully disassemble it. There we go. So I'll just put that way. In order to go any further than this, you've got a oh no, that's just the spacer that's kind of dropped further down in there. Okay, cool. So now at this point in time, you have this little package here in the center. In order to remove this, to get the two scales basically separated, what you actually need to do is remove the axis lock, the omega spring here. And so we'll pop those out. There we go. This will, in turn, once this is popped out of position, allow me to completely remove. Gotta get these guys sort of popped out here. Yeah, there's a fair amount of gunkitude in here, so might as well, right? This is also, by the way, what happens if these omega springs break. That is certainly the point of weakness and failure with any kind of an axis lock style design. That's not a dig on this particular knife. It's more a dig on the design of an axis lock with any kind of omega spring situation. So, but when those springs, if those springs break, hopefully they don't, but they may, what you have to do is just basically do this. You have to replace that spring entirely, then pop everything out, this way. Here we go. So now, at this point in time, the knife is as fully disassembled as it's gonna freaking get. There really aren't any other parts you could take apart. Maybe this is 2 pieces, but I don't care. So, we have the knife completely and totally disassembled. Massdrop key is up there in the corner for some reason. So, now what we'll do is go ahead and wipe some things down, right? Got some rubbing alcohol here, and as always, if you're curious about the tools that I'm using for my disassembly, go ahead and watch my NYX knife disassembly toolkit video, in which I describe the tools that I use for my disassemblies. And, you know, go into detail about whys and hows and whatnot. So, let's see here. As we're looking at this, really there's not too much to say. This is not so dissimilar from some of the other similarly locked knives in the world. And like I said, generally speaking, you don't even need to take anything out but the pivot. You just pop the pivot through, drop the blade out, clean off the washers, clean off the blade, maybe throw a Q-tip between these two to get everything fully degunked up inside there, and then you're good to go. You can put everything back together, and there's not even a question. But, you know, hey, for the purposes of demonstration, I figured I'd go all the way. But, yeah. Remember, you don't have to go all the way to be cool, though. Alrighty. Back at the ranch. Okay, so, phosphor bronze washes. That's always nice. Good to see here. And really, there's not so super much else to say. What's going to be a pain in the neck, or at least what has historically been a pain in the neck on knives in a similar vein, is the reassembly process. Usually getting to this point, that is not so hard. But getting the, getting the situation back, everything together, that can be a trick. And I'll go ahead and I'll wipe off the axis lock bar as we're in here. Not that it super needs it, but yeah. And while I'm doing this, what the heck, I'm going to go ahead. There we go. And I will clean out this path where the axis lock bar lives, because that's constantly going to be sliding back and forth, and you want to make sure that that's an area where you can get a little bit of stickiness sometimes. Okay, so now how the heck do I get this thing back together? I need to have both scales apart, both scales off, that is, both of the, the scales removed in order to replace the axis lock. I'm going to go ahead and just drop one of the back spaces in there to get my spacing right. Actually, I'll put in both. Not that I expect them both to stay in position, but that increases the chance that one of them will. Got everything popped in there. Okay, next step is going to be to slide. So this needs to go in this position here. So what I'll do is I will slide the spring. Try and separate these two springs one-handedly. That's awesome. Come here. Oh, no, that would have been backwards. So I need to get this side of the spring over to the other side of the liner. And that's just not happening super effectively right now with the angles that things are going in at. And with the one hand I have to do it with. There we go. Maybe? Okay, again, this is the orientation I need. So there we go. Hey, we're making progress here. All the way through now. Ah, no, not in the middle. There you go. Okay, great. Now I believe with a little bit of rotation, we should be able to get this. And the problem is these little holders there are going to snag on every damn thing ever. Okay, good. Hey, we're in place. Okay. And both of my back spaces have fallen out. But that's okay. Pinch again. And we'll take this. Okay, next step is going to be here. I'm going to use some tweezers for this just to make my life easier. I'll place so the axis lock, come on. Axis lock, I'm going to call this an axis lock. Of course, it's not an axis lock. That's the Benchmade term. But this device here requires a... there we go. Requires these omega springs to be in that certain position. There we go. All right, we've got everything sort of back into place here. And now what we can see is that when I push that back, of course, it can pop out right now, but when I push this back, it goes into its normal position. And actually, while I've got everything up in here, what I'm going to go ahead and do is just drop a little bit of oil onto the onto the area into which that slides, the groove. I don't freaking know. This region. And now we should be good to go. Okay, so the next step here is going to be to take the, to reassemble the handle of this guy. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and first take my, put my backspaces into position. Then, oh, you bastard. Once I have one of those in, the other one falls out. Now, I need to think carefully about... Oh, actually, it's a fully ambidextrous knife, so I don't need to think carefully about that yet. What I am going to do, though, is apply a little bit of Loctite here to the handle screws. There we go. There we go. Okay, beautiful. So, since these screws go right into the backspacer here, as I recall, I kind of need to make sure the backspacer is aligned properly. So, yeah, that's awesome. Let's go ahead and pull this. There we go. Now this side, come here, little bugger. Come on. There you go. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead, drop that there. Okay, that's the wrong driver. Come here, T8. T6, T8. Okay, you're spinning freely. Now the question is whether that means... Yeah, that one's not in alignment. So I'm going to see if I can get it into alignment here. I hope you're understanding quite clearly why it is that I didn't quite want to go here. I mean, obviously I went there, it's fine, but that's just because I like you all and I want to show you the way out of this world of hurt. And it is indeed a world of hurt. But again, the way to do this is not the way that I am showing you. The way to do it is exactly as I'm going to show you in a minute here when I've got just the blade pulled out. Okay, good. Okay, so that one's put in. Now I'll kind of pinch the... There we go. Yeah, for the moment, that'll do. Now I go to the other side and I do the same damn thing. Let's go ahead. Oh, Loctite. Yep. In this side, I'm going to have less trouble simply because I have... There we go. We need a good term, a generic term for what used to be called the axis lock. Because it could be that the name is still trademarked. I don't freaking know. But now that it's going to be just a separate thing. See, this is the ugly part of intellectual property in the world generally is, you know, even once you're in public domain, things still are awkward. Okay, so that's tightened down. This is tightened down. This is tightened down. This is tightened down. Now, at this point, I can start the reassembly in earnest. But what I want to actually talk about briefly is the pocket clip. So when I got this guy, the pocket clip was way too loose. It just wasn't quite bent where I needed it to be. Where will the clip goes on this side. Okay, yeah. So what I ended up doing is I actually unscrewed the clip, I flipped it around in this orientation, screwed it back tight, and then I was able to use the knife basically to give me a little bit of leverage to bend the clip a little bit more. And once that happened, it was good to go. I haven't had any clip really complaints since. The clip is certainly on this grippy, looks like G10, but, you know, not a big deal. The clip is a lot better now. It's worth saying, though, that the clip is very bendy. It's a lot less springy. It's plenty springy, but it's different. I wonder if they're using like a different alloy or something for it than usual. Okay, so let's go ahead and... So this is the level at which you will probably want to disassemble this guy. You take the pivot out, as I did previously, and then, you know, because at this point everything's working fine. I mean, we're basically back where we started. The only advantage we have is that we were able to fully clean out underneath the liners. We were able to fully show you what's under there. And this little surface in between, you know, kind of where the washers go is absolutely good to go. But it was good to go anyway. So I'll show you how we go from here. And I'm going to go ahead and use some knife pivot lube because it works a little bit better with phosphor bronze washers than your classical nano oil does. So I'll go ahead and drop that on there. And I'm being pretty generous right here with the lubrication. Because I'm actually relying in part on the lubrication surface tension to keep these washers in place as I'm sliding things back in there. I'll go ahead and put a little tiny drop on the other side here, so that as I'm sliding things in, good to go. Okay, this is a slightly fiddly part, because right now I need to be holding these washers on both sides of the blade together. And I need to slide this blade along with these washers into position. So watch. The goal here, of course, and I'm going to set this down so I can... because I need more hands to do this than I generally have. But the goal here is to try and get this entire, like basically the hole in the blade needs to get into position. The washers need to be, you know, around the hole in the blade, etc. An added complication is that at the same time, in order to fully seat this blade, I'm using this little watch spring bar tool here, but in order to fully seat the blade, I need to have the, I need to have the axis bar, whatever that's called now, pulled back, basically. I'm going to use this little ruler here in an effort to move the washers. Okay, so now you can see, hopefully, that inside that hole, there is a hole, basically, where the washer, where the knife's pivot and the washer are, you know, you can get something through there. My dream, my hope, my fondest desire is that on the other side that is true as well, and it is. Holy crap. Okay, so now what I can do is go ahead and release the axis bar a little bit, and that'll let the blade get fully into position. Now, I've got this spring bar tool through there just because that'll prevent things from sliding completely out of line. What I'm going to go ahead and do now is apply a little bit of lubrication to the pivot itself, and then I'm going to slide it over this little tool here. So now what I've got is, and what I've got to do is just manipulate the blade in such a way that the pivot is able to slowly work its way through the three different layers at hand. The first layer of which being the washer itself, the second layer being, okay, so I think that little snap meant that I snapped through the first washer. I'm going to see if I can, oh, you bastard, slip back out. Okay, I've lost my little tool there, but that should be okay. So I think I'm in through the washer. Now I need to pull this back, and that'll let me seat the blade, because I need to have the tang of the knife come up just a little bit. I'm in dangerous ground right now, because until I get through the pivot here, I'm not really home safe. So I'm just applying constant tension downwards and basically hunting for this pivot hole. Sometimes it's helpful to reorient yourself. And there we go. Okay. Now what I'm hoping is that I can... There we go. Okay, good. You hear that click? That means we just slid in the rest of the way to the pivot, so we can see that the rest of the way in there. So now the only thing we've got left, you can see that there's a little sliver of copper washer right here, a phosphor bronze washer. So I'm going to get in there with that tool and kind of move that out of the way, and then hopefully, maybe, I guess, oh, that's dangerous. I'm going to go ahead and place the... What am I going to go ahead and do there? Actually, I'm going to go ahead and use the table to give me my downward force. And then I'm just going to try and manipulate that washer using this spring bar tool again, such that the pivot can slide the rest of the way through. And again, I'm just playing. There we go. See that? Well, maybe you didn't see that. Hopefully you saw that. But now the pivot is all the way through, and we are good to go. All we need to do now is put a little bit of Loctite on the pivot, and we are buttoned up here happily. And then, of course, there's the matter of tuning everything and whatnot. So let's go ahead and tune. All right. So here we go. Here we go, here we go, here we go. And bam. Everything is tightened up now. So it's probably too tight. Yeah, that's too tight. Let's go ahead and make it less tight. Loosen, I suppose, is the verb we have for that here in the English language. All right. Okay. Where we want to be is with centering, which we've got, no blade play, which we've got, and a nice action, smoothness. I know that those three things are achievable. I have tuned this knife prior. Actually, just did it live on an Insta. Oh, yeah. There you go. So we are dead centered. We have no play. We have just a beautiful freaking action. Nice. Well done. So, and I gotta say that when I got this guy initially, it was not as smooth as it is right now. And so clearly there is some joy to be, there is some help to be found, that is, from doing the full disassembly here. So anyways, there you go. That is the Massdrop Millet Schwarz Perpetua. And hope this has been interesting, informative. For the love of God, do not do the full disassembly. Just pop the pivot out like I showed you in the future. That'll get you everything you need. The rest was mostly for your own edification. And there you go. Hope this has been interesting. Have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.